I would like to say hello to everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Anton Kalinin. I'm head of the analysts group in Security Operations Center and Cyber Art. I've been running from standoff. We just completed that standoff session. Our team was an integral part there. And now I will be speaking about threat intelligence, and I'll be speaking about how we do it in our center, how we prepare the UTI process. To start with, I'll just cover the main definitions, what they stand for, what they mean, and how we handle them, how to find them. When we start doing TI, normally, as far as threat intelligence is concerned, you keep on stumbling upon a lot of definitions in threat intelligence, and you'll have to understand what TI stands for and what it's all about. It's not feeds, it's not a portal, it's not a service, it's a process. It's a process of gathering, collection, systematization, and prioritization of cyber threats from different sources, and the usage of the protection tools. Threat intelligence is split into a few sections. Traditionally, the tactical cyber intelligence, threat intelligence, where you speak about IOC, some events, and this tactical one is normally done by threat hunters, engineers, analysts. The operational one, which is mainly about tactics, techniques, and procedures of such things used by hackers. It's the global information about the company, which can be utilized by the attackers, and some strategic information about the groups, where they act, which sectors they are targeted at, and recommendations and some advice on reacting. And let's just speak about what these indicators are all about, and indicators of attacks. These are the definitions that we have in threat intelligence. These are the indicators of compromise, some objects, standalone objects that we can monitor during the course of attacks. That could be the attacker's domains, which they would use to send the payload for phishing purposes, different hashes, payload hashes, emails, etc., etc. Having the knowledge about such indicators of compromise, you can learn about the attacks which have been carried out or are being carried out, can proactively block them and find possible incidents. At indicators of attack is the so-called behavior of the attacker while conducting the attack. This is the described set of tactics that the attackers would use when trying to expose different systems. And the correlations, writes, the signatures stand for attack indicators. And what would be the difference of IOC from IOA? Indicators of compromise, they just fix the actual facts, things which have already happened, the incidents, and we just act reactively. We are trying to block it, or if it has not happened so far, we can attempt to proactively block the attacks which had already occurred in different systems. It may get obsolete and outdated. Like, for example, IP addresses can get obsolete and can be blocked, so the violators will be migrate into a different infrastructure, and then this indicator will no longer be relevant for us. And IOCs are very easy to identify. These are stand-alone items, and they are very easy to find. Indicators of attacks, they reveal unknown attacks of which we don't have IOCs yet, and they work in real time, and they are isolated from specific cases which have been registered. It's difficult to come up with the correlations, and we need just to identify their signatures. Then, knowing the main TI elements, so we just need to understand their sources, and the sources of the information on threats can be both internal and external. Internal ones being your own firewalls and protection tools with blades, antivirus software, honeypots, sandboxes, whereas the external ones enumerate various threat intelligence providers, feeds, and you can take them in the open source, you can take them from commercial sources, or you can take them from partners. Here's some information about the sources of threats that we utilize in our SOC. We have a few feeds, fee-based feeds on Kaspersky and Cisco Talos. We have Kaspersky fields, Cisco Talos. We have open source feeds, and we have feeds that Misp provides, and we actively use Twitter. Twitter today is considered to be one of the first reminders of the alerts, because it's different researchers and InfoSec experts share their views with us. They would tweet there on various threats, and we have learned to detect that information there by using different hashtags and utilize it properly. Internal sources are CMs and GFW, the use of different plates, IPS, and some sandboxes. If there are some malicious files, learning more about this malicious file in a sandbox allows you to get these indicators, IOCs. Threat feeds, they are of different sources, but of the same types. We have a few feeds. First of all, simple lists with the indicators of compromise, which contain information in very simple format, the type of IOC and its value. So there are plenty of such feeds. There are a lot of open source ones in Tor exit mode, CNC bots, MD5 hashes that are malicious files, etc. So normally such threat fields are not context ones. So what we're going to do about them later on, it's not a trivial thing to do. We just need to enrich our information about them. We just need to learn more about them to further understand how to react when such feeds are discovered. Whereas the second group, the structured data, they are mainly of the text format, but with a unified language, open IOC, etc. By using this particular format, you can enrich your system with some context information. These feeds also may have some information about reports, links, links to the reports, and also vulnerabilities reports. We can have some information about blocking rules, response rules, etc. And comprehensive services are the ones showing the subscriptions to threat intelligence providers, having very profound reports containing the rules, helping us identify the indicators of attacks, standalone indicators, and the tools that the hackers utilize while carrying out their attacks. Should we use one source or multiple sources? The answer is simple. By choosing one source, you limit yourself to a restricted amount of information, and you are ignoring the rest. And in one source, there may be information missing about mass attacks. If you decided to just use the feed, which provides you the information about financial institutions attacks, or alternatively, you may be using some mass feed and some specific information about the financial sector, and the industrial sector may be missing. No one is free from mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. And by using just one source of data, you can have quite a lot of false positives. The choice of feeds, well, it's simple. First of all, you have to identify the type of source, whether it's suitable for you, whether it's relevant at the current time, whether this source allows you to help you collect APIs, or it may have some servers which will help you collect the information about threats and its own protection means. Also, the frequency is important, the frequency of updates. We have various sources that previously were posted quite heavily, and then at a certain point in time they stop sending this information, and if you are not tracking the frequency of these updates, you may be missing the indicators updates. And of course you can use open IOC, for instance, open IOC, or other ones. Once we have decided which sources we should use in our TI, we'll have to learn what we're going to assemble them with. We can do this manually, of course. You can do everything with your hands, but it's a slow and sluggish process. So this assembly process needs to be automated. You can do it in a few ways. The simplest one, for example, you have a platform in which you aggregate the information about the threat intelligence platform, the so-called one, and very frequently it is showing some functions on feed collection. With the open source platform usage, these functions are limited. In the commercial platforms, so we have extended collection tools, data collection tools, but it's the simplest one. And we have specialized threat feed aggregators. systems that aggregate these threats feeds, and they would send that information to other monitoring tools. I'm going to explain which system we have been using. ThreatCamp is the one that had been used with the IRP system. The Hive, it's simple. It is using URLs of those feeds that we need to collect and then natively sent to Misp and to the enrichment platform. Stacks is a free of charge utility from the Anomaly company. Anomaly has a fee-based threat intelligence platform, and Stacks is a taxi server which collects the information about threats from other taxi services. And it has a very friendly web interface. Watcher is an interesting tool that you can utilize. It uses patterns. For example, you set a pattern with the name of your company, and you set the sources where they are supposed to find the information, and all possible entries to your pattern are collected, aggregated on its platform, and you can find possible leakages of information, possible leakages of various accounts, etc. And you can of course aggregate it in other platforms. And the third one that you can assemble it with is to come up with your own automation modules. We decided to do that, and we're using Python to get information about indicators, the compromise indicators, and we do the relevance checkup and integration to the TI platform. As far as detection, well, it's simple. These are detected by all these tools that we actively have used in monitoring. CM platform, EDR, using sandboxes, user and identity behavior analytics platforms. As we find it at particular hosts, for this you can choose the tools shown at the slide. The most frequently used tools are Yara, with which you can describe various rules for describing patterns, finding traces of your system compromises, and things like that. Like previously was mentioned, the feeds are split into three types: networks with the context and those without the context. What about those having no context? What we have decided to do is that we split all of the feeds without context into two groups: the hosts ones and the network ones. The host ones do not get obsolete because their hashes are permanent for their files, and the names of different payloads can be, of course, altered and changed, but normally they retain that, and registry keys and hash sums are the same for the similar types of attacks. But whereas the network ones get obsolete, change quite frequently, and they may contain some false positives. So after splitting them into different groups, we do the relevance checkup. And the relevance checkup, the network ones are put through the whitelists of the famous domains and IP addresses that belong to InfoSec companies, Google and Microsoft. And the second relevance checkup would be checking the famous TI services, virus total abuse IP, etc. After such an inspection, a certain rating is generated for the indicator. That is how many services have identified and proved that this indicator is indeed malicious, and what other information has been known about this indicator. It is also added to the whole picture. We choose this relevance checkup and we use automated Python scripts. We can also use the free of charge services for relevance checkup. One of them called GosInt. You can check and verify with the use of the virus total, for instance, whether there is some context information about this indicator, whether this one has been considered a malicious one or not. After this checkup, we understand which sources we need, we understand what we need to use to assemble that and how we're going to validate that. Then we have the threat intelligence platform. Threat intelligence platform allows us to collect all of the information about IOCs. It allows us to correlate this with various attacks and spread it and cascade it down the monitoring platform and protection system. Now I describe here on this slide the main functions that this threat intelligence platform possesses. I mentioned them earlier already. What are the TI platforms? We know that they are free of charge and commercial ones. Of course, the commercial ones are of a bigger scale, scalability, more convenient, but of course the free ones have its own benefits. First of all, it's free, and then you can always improve it and fine-tune it with your own means. Currently, we've got the following TI platforms that are free of charge: Misp, Open, CTI, Yeti, and Crits. These are the most popular ones. Of course, there are others, but here I would say that there are not too many enthusiasts mingling with the TI platforms, and the most developed one is Misp, of course. Also because of the, also in terms of the number of the users and the number of different plugins available. In our SOC, we use the Misp open source platform to aggregate the threat intelligence information. And here is the actual schematic of the process. We just need to explain what it is made of in our SOC by collecting this information on feeds. With Hypercamp, Watcher, and Python, we aggregate this information, and with the use of the Python, we segregate these indicators into groups. These network indicators are checked via versus whitelists. Other ones are inspected for signatures, Microsoft digital signatures, etc. After that, all of the information which has been tested for relevance and the ones has been enriched is uploaded to Misp threat intelligence platform. Then it's tagged and put into different categories. Then it's goes to the CMs, firewalls, and EDRs, antiviruses. And we have dedicated experts, of course, that do threat intelligence. And by analyzing IOCs, indicators of compromise, that they can create new scenarios of monitoring and identify new indicators. And when creating these new indicators, they would test them, they would upload them to the database, to the knowledge base as we call it, and then the red team would test and verify with them for the relevance. If an incident occurs and it relates to the indicator of compromise, the incident report gets to the IRP platform, and the IRP platform is integrated with TI platform, Misp. This is where enrichment occurs. We have a monitoring scenario, for instance, which just checks the lists, the correlation rules for malicious domains. Once a request for malicious domain has been identified, the IRP tag arrives and it enriches with some information from Misp, and we can get more sure that it's not just a malicious domain, it belongs to the group domain, which is a part of a botnet, and that's a malicious file with the exploit.exe extension. Knowing its hashes, we can quickly identify it at the antivirus level and block them. I would like to show you a few screenshots, what it actually looks like. This particular screenshot reveals you the information on how, on what the data collection looks like on these threats from Twitter. For example, someone sends a tweet, here's the hash, here's the name of the file, nanocore ret. You parse this, it enriches then. Here we can see just a hash and a file, and then in threat intelligence platform we can get a report that this file is related to a certain IP address. This hash 256 has been added, and here is the link to VirusTotal where this file has been checked. This screenshot is showing the classification of threats, and this is what it looks like in Misp. We tag various sources like Twitter, AGIS, etc. Where it's possible, we can tag micro attacks, which also works. We also tag specific groups of these malicious files. And I'm going to end this speech for today. Here you can see the general schematic on how we collect and aggregate and spread this threat-related information. And in the end, I would like to say that threat intelligence is worth implementing when you know where to apply it. where to apply threat intelligence processes and how to evaluate the results when you know how TI helps you get information security, and if you know who's going to be taking the threat hunters requests, and if you can set requirements for TI. I'm done. That's all for today from me. If you have questions, I'd be happy to take them. Thank you. We have no questions. Thank you very much for joining me here for this session. Hope to see you next time, and goodbye.